moving on to this next fight, we got Kevin Holland versus Michael Page, MVP. This is a really interesting one. Kevin Holland, as a first, I haven't seen Kung Fu very often. People with Kung Fu listed as like their main fighting source. He's like a double black belt. I think Kevin Holland loves the sport. He loves the sport of MMA, which we don't always see, which you have to like it, obviously, to get into it in the beginning, but I think he still really has that passion for it. He's an elite striker, tons of experience against some like really high level competition. He's got all three aspects to his game. He can knock you out, he can sub you, he can win on decision. The biggest area where Kevin Holland struggles is against wrestlers, grapplers, and that's not who he's going against with Michael Page. Michael Page, awful defense, hasn't faced anyone. I think the biggest name dude is, I forget his name, but in the bare knuckle boxing, dude.
Mike Perry,
Yes.
Platinum Satellite Perry,
yes,
baby.
Him, yes, yeah. In their bare knuckle fight. Dude.
But he lost, by the way.
He did lose. He did lose it.
Fucking Mike Perry.
I saw one of his fights. This is in Bellator, which, I mean, the guys in Bellator, they're warriors too, but these aren't UFC guys for a reason. He popped him, opened him up. You saw him bleeding down the side. The dude stopped the fight. He pointed to his head to the ref, and the ref was like, no, you're good. Keep going. And he wouldn't. The guy actually stopped the fight. The ref waved off. He's like, okay, if you're not going to fight, I'm going to stop it then. Like, that's the level of competition. They're facing guys that stop their own fights because they got opened up a little bit. There's been a couple fights for MVP where he hasn't even been hit. And that's just further credence that he hasn't faced anybody. He goes in there and he's able to just one-punch dudes. And you might be saying, oh, well, that's like credit to his knockout power. Well, he's not getting touched. He's not getting touched. These guys aren't good. They're not good. He's just knocking out your local grocery baggers. He's ripe to be humbled to me. I mean, this dude, the way he celebrates in the cage and some of the shit he does, he's acting like he's on top of the world. I think he's about to come in and get humbled by Kevin Holland, and I think that's exactly what the UFC wants too. What do you think, Bobby?
Yeah, people are definitely making this fight a lot more interesting than it, in my eyes, should be. And what I mean by that is you pretty much hit the nail on the head with a lot of this, and I'll add this, right? So we know that Michael Venom Page has basically been can crushing, right? That's what he's been doing. He's been can crushing for pretty much his entire career, right?
Yes.
So Bellator has intentionally built his career upon him crushing cans. Evangelista Santos, Cyborg Santos, is a guy that he made a name off of by throwing a Pokeball at his corpse after he KO'd him with a flying knee. And the dude was like 46 when he fought Michael Venom Page. I'm going to refer to him as MVP from now on. And it's like you KO'd a 46-year-old at the twilight of his career and celebrated by throwing a Pokeball at him and dented his skull with your knee. Like, you know, it's like the guy picking on the JV football team or whatever, and he's varsity. It's just like, okay, man, you know, you beat the shit out of some kids. Congratulations. What do you want? Right. So it's interesting because, you know, unlike most can crushers, we also have seen him when he's been put against actual competition. What's happened when he's been put against actual competition, you ask? What you would think would happen to a can crusher, and he's spectacularly failed or been boring as hell. The first fight I watched of Michael Venom Page's, and the first and last time I bought Bellator, my subscription was grand opening, grand closing, one night only, was his fight against Paul Daly. People were walking out of that fucking atrocious fight. I fell asleep. I literally fell asleep after the third round and woke up and the fight was completely over. The show was over. All the fucking lights were off. I was like transported to the year 1536. That's how long the nap was and how peaceful it was because there was no action in this damn fight. Because what MVP does when he's faced with somebody even a little bit on his level or even shittier is he freezes. He freezes up. He's frozen like Mitch McConnell when he goes up against anybody with even a little bit of a record. He can't get up. The man needs life alert. Paul Daly just stared at him and held him up against the cage. And that's another thing. You like he's very prone to like being, ragdolled and just taken advantage of by grapplers. It's the funniest thing when you start pressuring MVP up against the cage, trying to take him down. He will sell out by jumping like so high in the air, trying to do a flying knee like he's Masvidal, that it's just comical how bad the timing is. He's just not timing it at all. He's just jumping like a gazelle violently into the air if you get him even a little bit to the cage. He's so terrified of the takedown. And so it's kind of funny because this is a good first fight for him because it leaves people naive enough to think he has a chance. And it's the
Right.
perfect card because it's an O'Malley card. It's stacked from top to bottom, juice to the tits. It's the perfect card to put him on. And he's gonna draw in people. Don't get me wrong. As much as I don't like the guy, he does get eyes on. He is known in the community, and people do fall for the gimmick of him having highlight reels over his last opponent after he got KO'd by Douglas Lima. I shit you not, was a 3-1 librarian. The guy was a librarian with a 3-1 MMA record. I am not making it up. And what did he get? A highlight reel KO. And that's going to be his career in the UFC. He's going to go up against Kevin Holland. I think he's going to lose. And then I don't necessarily agree that the UFC is trying to embarrass him. I kind of think those days are kind of over unless it's somebody they really just don't like. Like I do believe they held a grudge against Ben Askren, and they did
Oh,
try to screw over Ben Askren as much as they could because of how he kind of honey-dicked them for so long and some other things he had with Dana. I don't think they're doing that with MVP. I really think they are trying to like MVP's old now. He's been around for a while, even though he hasn't taken damage because his fights have, not lasted that long. He's still at the twilight of his career, you got to imagine. Especially if he keeps going up against real competition and he continues to disappoint like he has against Lima, like he has against Paul Daly, like he has against Mike Perry. I mean, you're supposed to be the better striker and you lost. I get it's bare knuckle to Mike fucking Perry, not that long ago, a few years ago in bare knuckle. It's just a bit ridiculous. I think what they're going to do is they're going to just really milk him dry until the name recognition wears off. The highlight reels just aren't coming even against cans. People lose interest and they just can't get anything else from him right now because he doesn't have that much time left. He's 36 years old. He's going to be 37 this coming April. He's got maybe 3 years left, and that's if he's a genetic freak like Yoel Romero, which I don't think he is, and even Yoel's not looking good lately. So all that to say, it's kind of funny that he's going up against Holland because their styles in terms of striking are actually very similar. They both like that really wild high kick that they kind of like do like kind of like a tie jump into, and they really exaggerate with how tall they are, how high their leg goes up to try to like cover distance and get into striking range. They just do stuff like that, like the kung fu flashy kicks, the taekwondo kicks, karate kicks, that type of thing. Very similar striking styles. I do think MVP has the edge there, but I'm taking this fight in a different direction than how a lot of people are seeing it. And I'm saying what's going to be the X factor is the grappling. And I don't think that's necessarily going to be because Kevin Holland's going to be out there with a singlet on, shooting double singles, running the pipe, trying to do trips and shit. I just think he's going to put MVP in some situations
yeah.
where, since MVP once again sells out so hard to desperately avoid being wrestled and, flying knees from a mile away telegraphed, I just feel like Kevin Holland's going to catch him in something, like how he caught Chiesa, right? He didn't even get Chiesa, I believe, when he got that sub win over Chiesa because he was chasing doubles and singles and other takedowns. I think he just managed to pressure him against the fence and he got him in a clinch situation, took advantage of it, and choked him out. I think he's going to do something very similar to MVP. MVP is going to try that stupid flying knee. It's obviously not going to work. Holland's going to muscle up against the cage. I think he's going to have an advantage there from his strength and his technique. And I honestly like him at sub at plus 550 because money line for Holland's minus 135, Page is plus 114. Holland by sub plus 550. Hell, I don't even hate KO TKO at plus 450 for Holland because he's got the skills to do both. And when Douglas Lima KO'd MVP, that was at the twilight of Douglas Lima's career. And the biggest factor in this is even if MVP is trying to pressure him like he normally does and where he finds most of his success being the hammer and going forward on guys, he still got knocked out by Lima when Lima was going backwards in his Tyron Woodley stage of his career where he just goes to the fence, back, double hand to death, over with. So even if he's doing that to Holland, Holland could catch him even being backed up. Holland has pretty decent power, long arms. I think I could see that either, but I just like plus 550 sub better. Hell, you even get pretty good money on decision by plus 200. So really you can't go wrong with either method right now to offset the money line. But me personally, I just like sub at plus 550 because it's the best value. And it is just such a glaring weakness of MVP that I think Kevin Holland's going to want to exploit it. And even if he does get MVP hurt with the striking, he might choose to finish by sub on purpose to either A, make a statement, or B, just because he feels like he has a better shot of finishing it by sub as opposed to like giving MVP time to recover from a knockdown or something like that. What do you think?
Would you split the middle between the KO sub double method at plus 240?
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Okay.
Why not? That's like practically free damn money at that point.
It's kind of funny, and I'm glad you said this too. Kevin Holland for Vegas almost seems like the perfect matchup here because Michael Page is like the big name. And Holland, you and me have talked plenty of shit on Kevin Holland. It's not like we're the biggest Kevin Holland fans. We're just saying
no, not at all.
In this matchup, like Michael Page seems like he's clearly at a disadvantage where these odds, I mean, I would feel like the St. Denis Poirier fight, I feel like that's closer to what the odds should be. So I'm a little bit surprised by that. Looking at the money line, I had Pickett pulled up here. $42,000 in so far. 54% of the bets on Holland, so pretty close split, but 62% of the money. So we're seeing quite a bit of sharp money coming on Holland. I just think that's just people that just know better. So I think that we're on the right track here.
100%. And don't get me wrong, I do like Holland as a fighter and his personality. He's one of those rare examples of a fighter. I like both the personality and their style. But yeah, I'm going to call it how I see it. And I'm not going to blow smoke up, y'all's asses and lie and everything and say that he's going to win this if I didn't think that he had a shot. He does have a shot. And once again, I'm being honest when I admit I do not care for MVP. Can I acknowledge that he is talented? Of course he's talented. He's in the premier combat sports organization in the world. And even though you can get in, he's managed to stick around for a long time in the second best organization, which is Bellator. You don't make a career as long as his without having something to offer your employer. Let's just say that. So he is a good fighter. It's just we've seen this before. Kevin Holland's not the best fighter. He's pretty much what he's always going to be right now. This is pretty much his role, unfortunately. I don't think he's going to be champ material, perennial top 10, 15 guy. But we've seen MVP time and time again when he's faced even a little bit of adversity and even a little bit of somebody who knows what they're doing. And for the last thing on this fight, if you want more information, there's nobody better for MVP than Jack Slack. He just put out on his podcast the whole MVP can crushing career breakdown. So that's another great source.
You better start listening to the Better in Green podcast. You will not regret it. Trust me. And hey, I'm Dean Blandino.
Welcome to Better in Green, eh? To Better in Green, eh? To Better in Green, eh? Listen in and cash out. That's what it's all about. Come on, let's make cash now. We always on spot and we cover all spot from the bottom to the top. Hey, shout out to Ethan, shout out to Wyatt, shout out to Ben. Welcome to our podcast. Better in Green.